Okay, so people seem to be having very, again, vibrant discussion, and that's part of, it's really important. I can see how people had the great enthusiasm and energy for that yesterday, and I think today as well, to be able to connect our experience with each other and our successes, our failures, everything else, but also to sort of like build our meditation community. It's really, really wonderful to see. And our friends online had still some challenges, but not as much as yesterday. But I don't know what's happening. Anyway, okay, so it'd be good to hear back some of, not absolutely everything you discussed. I'm sure it's not necessarily you want to, but to share absolutely everything, and that's fine. But it'd be good to hear back some of your pertinent points, observations, or experiences that you would like to open up to others and share with others, that in terms of helping each other along in our practice and so forth. So shall we start this side in the Gompa and make our way around, and then also online, if you want to say something, type it in here in case I don't hear you. I mean, just say I want to add something. We'll go around the Gompa first, and I'll probably have to repeat so you can hear what they're saying, or at least summarize what they're saying, like I did yesterday. So over this side, folks.
Well, I guess one of the things that came up for us as a common theme was we were all very interested in the structure that's applied to an analytical
right.
In particular, the way that the structure was delivered while you were leading the meditation.
Yes.
You had that structure to build upon.
Yes.
And that the takeaway from us would be also, when we're looking to do an analytical meditation, you have a clear understanding of the topic.
Yes.
Where do we want to go to so that we could focus along that path for that structured meditation?
Okay, so yeah, that's a good point. So a common shared idea was that from the analytical meditations, being interested in what the structure of a particular meditation is in terms of the points that you go through and the sequence of the points that you go through for the meditation practice, but also what was he also?
Knowledge.
Oh, yes, he also, most importantly, was having knowledge of the topic. In other words, we had some experience, and this is where it said we developed the wisdom of listening to the teachings. And so that the more that we listen, either by engaging with online teachings, face-to-face teachings on those topics, or we read about those as well, or both, so we can contemplate it, we can discuss those topics together. And because there are sort of standard points to go through in whichever analytical meditation we're engaging in, but there's also getting an essence and a flavor of that. And so that once we're familiar with the topics, then we can spend time on each and every one ourselves and go through and really unpack it. I mentioned that in the Theravadan approach, predominantly on the 4 close applications of mindfulness. What I didn't mention, that of course I have in Discovering Buddhism mentioned, of course, with the Mahayana approach, with the Great Vehicle approach, that it's going through, particularly in Tibetan Buddhism, going through the topics of the graduated path to enlightenment, the Lam Rim or Lam Dre in the Sakya tradition, which has been resolved into path, but here, graduated path to enlightenment. So it's shared by all the Tibetan traditions, and there's sort of topic by topic. It's just like meditate on this point, that point, that point. And for example, the meditations that we've done on equanimity, compassion, loving kindness fold into practices on the great scope, those doing the Lam Rim, as Mahayana practices. It doesn't mean that our Theravadan fellow Buddhists don't have compassion by the bucket load. You know, it's not saying that, but just how we structure our meditation and approach within whatever particular philosophical view. So we have two sides. One is the philosophical view, and the other one, the method side, which is, you know, when we're cultivating loving kindness, compassion, it's seen as on the method side, you know. So yeah, we have in the commentaries outlines for the points of each of those, and then in the teachings those outlines are elaborated through the great treatise on the path to enlightenment, Lama Tsongkhapa, based on Lama Atisha's Lamp on the Path, and so elaborating. And then so that's the great treatise on the path, meaning it's 3 volumes, and that gets distilled down to one very fat volume of the middling Lamrim. Or we have other more slightly contemporary commentaries, such as Liberation in the Palm of Your Hand, Pabonko Rinpoche, and then, which was, I say, that was like 100 years ago now. Nearly. No, 100 years ago, yeah. Gosh, time flies. I wasn't around then, Joe. Clearly I wasn't around then. Well, I don't know. I wish I did know. But the teacher of our teachers, and then taking that 24-day teaching, were more like, I think it was 2005, Yangtze Rinpoche, who's at Mitripa College in Portland, Oregon. They're practicing the path. So he gives a more contemporary flavour. And then we have also Geshe Sopo Rinpoche and his contemporary flavour. And then we have more distilled versions. There's so many, many different commentaries like Geshe Sopo and so forth, giving teachings currently extensively on the Lamrim. So we can engage with all of that, and that helps us then familiarising. Obviously, you think, well, in one day I'm not familiar enough with the structure, but over time and over practice, we get familiar with it. And then once we're familiar with it, then we can guide ourselves in that and keep reading and keep doing teachings and deepening our understanding and deepening our experience, because every single time, even you meditate on exactly the same thing, different experiences and different sort of like joining the dots, you know, different connections are made, you know, for our minds. So that enriches. Yeah, very good point. Thank you. Yes.
We hear quite often what a good idea it is to have self-compassion and the benefits of it, but there's not that many meditations around that show us how to develop self-compassion. So my question is, have you got some reference?
Well, I guess on the self-compassion, I mean, I guess you take, like, for example, we did that beginning part of towards the self, you know, that we visualize, first of all, ourselves and extending that compassion towards ourselves, so that we can, you know, have that as an ongoing meditation. So that's one. I think Thubten Chokyi, I was trying to think of compassion something or other. Anyway, and another thing I like is taking something like His Holiness the Dalai Lama's. There's a book called Compassion. It's sort of like that, but one's like that, and the actual quotes and so forth, and really soaking your mind in those, you know, to be able to. And it's a matter of any compassion meditation where we put that focus, you know, where we put it on towards ourselves or towards others. And this is a really important point, because I think, you know, because we're here in a Mahayana Buddhist center and we say these prayers, you know, may everything I do be of benefit to others. And now, you know, it's pretty freaky for the poor little mind going, oh, help, I'm drowning myself, you know, how can I help someone else? So it's really good to actually take the time with ourselves rather than leaping ahead to, you know, focusing outwards when we don't have that solid foundation for ourselves. So, so sometimes we have these conversations around, yeah, it's throwing people in the deep end of the pool before they can, you know, swim. So, you know, finding that, yeah, taking each step gradually and building strong foundations. So not wanting to, of course, when we lead these meditations here and we're sort of like, okay, and now towards others. We may not be ready for that yet. No. Yeah, so it's a good point. Thanks. Going back, yes.
So it's related actually to all of those aspects of analytical meditation, just general with the body. Certain parts of the body kind of,
Yes.
part of it, yeah.
Getting a sense of the connections within the body.
Yeah, like the end of the heart.
Yeah.
I think that's the style.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're going to do one next on that in terms of feelings in the body. So that, yeah, it's good to, I think, taste the different flavors. And then the difference, what is different is what our motivation is, you know, the purpose of our final goal, really.
Yeah,
But in terms of practice, not really.
Yeah, because I found myself, I didn't have a lot of, sometimes my mind is quite either active or it's kind of very quiet. So that was a bit quiet, so I had nothing to sort of like watch.
Then you listen to the nothing or watch the nothing.
My body thinking, oh yeah, the shoulder's a little bit sore or the knees.
It can tell us, I mean, what's interesting, it can tell us just how much, I don't know, biofeedback we need to know before we're aware of what's going on, you know. By spending the time in meditation, we're at least more aware than we are. Those things are going on anyway. Sensations in the body and so forth are there. But we're not necessarily attending to it. If I'm like, I'm intending to you, so I'm gauging out there. I'm not thinking about my body.
And then obviously the breath helps.
The breath helps. The mask helps the breath, does it? Okay. Anyone else on this side? Moving across to the other side, down the back. Moving forward. Moving right forward. Paul.
Venerable Chokyi, there's a couple of us who struggle with the word meditation.
Yes, sometimes I think we have to ban the word meditation. True.
I believe, if my memory serves me right, that a couple of my teachers have said to me that, okay, well, don't think of it as meditation, think of it as deep thinking, deep thought.
Deep thought, yes. Yes, that's fine. Deep thought, absolutely. Does it work for you?
It works for me, actually.
That's your answer. If it works for you, it works. So I think it can be that we put this label onto meditation that can be so many different things to so many different people, and either we get totally confused about it or we think it's some sort of meditation, you know? Oh, it's hard work. Well, against the hard work, I also like, or not time out, but time in, you know. I'm just giving this time to myself. I'm having a break for my, you know, in myself. Or I'm withdrawing into, well, that might be still feeling like meditation, into the mental, the laboratory of the mind still feels like hard work, doesn't it? Does it? Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I think it feels really.
Yeah. I mean, it's what you're doing.
But I really like that.
Yeah.
To be in this inner laboratory.
Yeah, it's an exploration. It's an investigation. It's a curiosity. And then, you know, our mind doesn't have to become so fixated, because it's so easy for us to be fixated, and we get very tight and tense and, oh, I've got to do this point, then I've got to do that point, then I've got to do this, then I've got to do that. And we take that into everything that we do as well. You know, we're hard taskmasters of ourselves. Relax. What do I say? What do the lamas say whenever you have problems in meditation? Relax. Relax. Because we do. We tie ourselves up in knots and just go relax. Did you want to add something?
I was curious, you said a couple of people had a problem with meditation. There's a word, but I'm not quite getting what the problem was and what the distinction is. What?
Okay.
Yeah.
Paul? No pressure, but you brought it up.
Absolutely no pressure. I'm not the only person who thinks that way. I won't let you know who else said that they have a problem with the word meditation. But perhaps we don't feel that we do it properly.
Yes.
Meditate.
Yeah.
Perhaps
That's a
we
proper
think
way.
we're doing it better if we think deeply about it.
Yeah. Let's just have a think about it. Let's just think deeply about this. Let's just notice
That's all.
what's going on.
Yeah. So I don't meditate, I think deeply.
Okay. So I think another thing is too, and why I say sometimes I think the word needs to be banned, not so much in this context, but, you know, I think it's changing in the world, but people go, oh, meditation, that's what religious people do, or that's what Buddhists do, or so forth. With anyone who's got a functioning mind, right, can meditate, and that's most people. Even the people whose functioning of their mind is limited, as I said yesterday, people in the mental health facility, in the forensic unit, you know, they can still meditate to some extent, you know. So as long as we can access the mind, you don't have to, well, depending on, you know, what sort of topics of meditation you're doing, but say, like, for example, yesterday, you know, and there's, I guess there's a lot of that. It's different doing a shamatha karma abiding practice without the philosophical view, without that framework, than with it, you know. So, but our intention also then becomes very different. You know, it's still beneficial. It's not saying it's not beneficial.
I also think sometimes that word meditation may have been hijacked a little amongst contemporary practitioner very loosely. And I think a lot of people see that word meditation associated with many things that they've seen on the internet, and then when it comes into the context of actually meeting meditation in the context of this tradition, they're not quite sure where it sits, and sometimes feel a little bit uncertain as to what they should be doing with meditation within the tradition, as opposed to what they've seen on a couple of.
Yeah, so yeah, some people call it meet your mind. Familiarize with your mind. I mean, the word in Tibetan for meditation, gong, it means that familiarization, you know, a sense of familiarizing with what's there, but also familiarizing with the states of mind you want to be there, and so forth. So both aspects, familiarizing with practices. It can, maybe if you say we're going to have a familiarization day, people go, oh, it's a bit weird. We're not going to start to call it that one. So yeah, it's true. People can feel confused, but if we have a sense of exploration and openness within ourselves to just, in fact, it's necessary, because otherwise we cut ourselves off from opportunities for what we might experience if we think it's got to be a certain experience or so forth, and it's not. Then we think, oh, I can't meditate. Well, actually, you can, and you're doing it, you know. And why not? You know, that might be the next most amazing thing to be invented. So I'll tell you, this is a funny story about that. So, you know, sometimes in meditation, people can think, oh, they're having the most profound, deep meditation, right? I mean, I'm not naming anybody, but I've heard. No, but there is that experience of, wow, that's amazing. So this guy who was meditating, and he said, I found the answer to world hunger. And so he tried not to interrupt his meditation, so he just wrote it on a bit of paper and went back to his meditation session. And then after the meditation session was ended, he looked at his bit of paper. It said, photocopy bananas. It felt profound at the time. Maybe more experience. Yeah.
And another thing with that word association meditation is that when people say meditate, they have this vision of somebody sitting on a mat, cross-legged,
Yes.
hands in that position, meditating.
Yes.
But you can meditate wherever you like.
You can, well, the Buddha, yeah, so in comparison to, yeah, people can think, oh, meditate, I've got to be able to, oh, I couldn't do that. I can't sit on the floor with cross-legged and the foot on the opposite thigh and good heavens, I can't do that. So therefore I won't go along. It's not a yoga session as such, as a literal sort of way. But yes, the Buddha said in sitting, standing, lying, walking. Now, if you think of the functionality of each of those, it pretty much encompasses everything we do. So however we are, you know, we talk about, you know, certain postures and we get habituated to certain postures, you know, post knee rehab. I was delighted to be able to sit on the floor again after so many years, but it's probably because I've habituated myself to that. It feels good for me, you know, to do that. I'm not saying it doesn't feel good sitting in a chair, but it, you know, at Vajrayana Institute, we were trying out chairs, the Friday morning meditators, and we tried out different chairs for meditation, and then they decided which one was best. And they're the chairs that are in the Gompa today. But almost everyone was on chairs. And they'd come in on the Friday morning and say, we're Maitreya Buddha. We're the coming Buddha, sitting up sensibly. Haven't grown up sitting on the floor, or at least I, maybe as young children, but we go to school and they sit you in a desk, you know. And so it's not natural in a way or familiar to us. We can make it familiar, but we can also, and what happens when the, you know, problems for the legs go along. So I remember going to a retreat with where this woman had lots of back issues and so forth, and she was a serious meditator, and she'd had a sort of chair / recliner designed specifically for her meditation, and it was like she was sort of like that. She was a very serious meditator, right? So as I said yesterday, it doesn't matter what it looks like outside. If it works for you and helps you, you know, come to a state of balance and helps you have a posture that your mind can settle into. Another one of my friends who started a more serious long-term retreat and got a, what do they call, zero gravity chair?
Oh, yeah.
Never tried one out myself, but anyway, she swears by it. Okay, so anyone online want to say anything? Ask anything? Juliet, was that a yes? Because if it is, you're on mute. If you want to, I'm not saying you have to, but you came up on the screen, so I wasn't sure. Anyone else here in the Gompa? Okay. All righty. So great. I hope that you've shared a lot more. Well, I know that you have, because it took a lot more time than that. A lot of your experience and tips with each other. And, you know, may we continue to have those opportunities to do that. Okay, so we're going to segue again into meditation. What did I tell myself? 2:30. Okay, so this meditation on feelings. Oh, indeed. In relation to sensations of the body, from an analytical perspective, it's, you know, it comes into the classic body of the 4 close applications of mindfulness. So setting your conducive posture, where you can be sitting, lying, standing. One could do this in walking. And then settling your body in a state of stillness, relaxation, and alertness. allowing your body to settle into a state of balance, well supported by the ground below. Solid foundation, feeling that support, that safety, that groundedness. Connecting you to the earth. And settling your awareness into the space of the body. Honing in that awareness on the natural rhythm of your breath, in and out. And try and get a sense of that whole continuity of the breath. Each moment of the breath out, releasing, relaxing any tightness, any tension, any distractions, body and mind, dissolving, melting away into nothingness, just gone. And as we breathe in, slightly tightening the focus, noticing just the arisal of the breath moment by moment as it arises in its own rhythm, no need to change anything. Turn around to the breath, the stillness between breaths, savoring each and every moment, bringing body and mind and breath together in each moment, and really cherishing each and every one of those. And so for a short time, have your eyes open and just whatever arises to the senses, so not focusing on the mental consciousness, but on the sensory perceptions without making sense of things, but things arise to our visual awareness, sounds might arise, or the tactile sensations where we're sitting and so forth. And just be present with whatever's there. Just notice. It arises, it takes our attention goes elsewhere, just naturally. Just getting to allow these sensory impressions to wash over you. Just whatever, being as present as we can, mindfully aware of whatever's here right now. And attuning our mind to the feelings associated with that. And we can bring our mind to focus back inwards. Generally, it's easier to focus on the feeling sensations, usually in relation to sounds and tactile objects in our meditation. Of course, there's always ones that arise in relation to visual impressions and smells and taste, but they're usually fairly neutral ones. And so we want to engage with that tactility, that sense consciousnesses that generate feelings, deliberately focusing our attention in relation to the sounds, tactile sensations of solidity, fluidity, warmth, motion that arise from moment to moment within the body, connecting with that inner dynamic. And on top of that, we attend to the mental consciousness arising in relation to that contact, in relation to that sensory awareness, the feelings of pleasure, pleasant sounds, pleasant sensations, unpleasant ones, or ones that are neutral, that are neither pleasant, unpleasant. For example, as we proceed, if you feel some inclination to move, to adjust your posture, just before you do that, sit with it. It's crucial to see that we don't automatically follow that impulse, and that gives us the opportunity to notice the feeling that arises in relation to that impetus, which is usually an unpleasant one because we want to make it more comfortable for ourselves. So just notice that, letting your body remain as still as possible. Explore, investigate in a mental laboratory, your own inner scientific observer, noticing the feelings, parts of the body that might feel comfortable, giving a mild sensation of pleasure, some, perhaps a lot, completely neutral. In other parts of the body, a sense of discomfort. So we just investigate and allow our attention to rove around, just like we did with our eyes open, to capture and inspect carefully those feelings, not habitually identifying with them, simply observing the very nature of the feeling itself. We notice different feelings arising to our awareness in relation to different sensations arising to our awareness. They arise, they abide, they dissolve. And see if that feeling that arises in relation to a particular sensation is identical to the sensation, or is it a way our mind responds to the sensation? See if you can examine that relationship between the actual mere sensory appearance and the feeling associated with that. So observe how the feelings arise, how they are present, attending to them in the present moment, how they dissolve back into the space of the body. Precisely how do they dissolve? Can you notice the relationship between the feelings that you inspect, how they may be, the feelings themselves may be altered by you shining the light of awareness on them? If so, how does awareness affect the feelings? Just see what you can observe in the space of the body, in the space of your investigation. So continue your investigation, expand the volume of awareness to fill the entire space of the body, letting your awareness roam around, filling the entire space, spontaneously, effortlessly. Taking an interest in any feelings of comfort, pleasure, that the mind goes towards, or the discomfort that the mind goes away from, or the neutral feelings that the mind remains indifferent to. So without moving, just carefully observing. And is there any association between those feelings of pleasure, pain, indifference to the tactile sensations of earth, water, fire, air, space, the elements in the body? Or is it something more on top? We're trying to turn our investigation to the relationship between the feelings and the tactile sensations of the four elements, investigating any correlations. For example, how the mind responds to a sense of firmness, solidity, stability of the earth element, and the sensations of those, the feelings associated with that, and explore the other elements as well. So with each breath out, relax more deeply. And when involuntary thoughts arise, distractions to the mind, relax, release, let them dissolve back into the space of mind and return to your investigation of the sensations in the body and the feelings that arise in relationship to that, the connection between. A spacious, gentle, focused investigation. And see, can you simply be aware of the feelings arising in the body without becoming immersed in them and tangled up in their story, conflating with them? Can you view them from an observer role, from a distance, without any attending to any particular preferences, following where the mind wants to go? So in short, attending without identifying with those feelings, without either grasping, identifying with them, pushing them away, ignoring them. Simply resting with that awareness of the feelings on the basis of the sensations, with a mind of equanimity, of evenness, even regard, neutrality. And as we come to the conclusion of this meditation, this very short period of investigation, of deep thinking, reflection, observation, again, see if we can avoid or rest with the tactile sensations before we want to move, immediately. Keep that investigation as we open the space of our awareness to the sensations on our skin, the tactile sensations of our contact with the chair, the mat, the cushion, the floor, the support system. Our awareness of the space around us. Holding our light of awareness as we expand that out into our outer environment, and see if we can continue on that investigation, maybe not the whole time, but mindfully throughout the break time. Notice our responses to different sensations, maybe to taste and sound. In a spirit of continued investigation. Okay, keeping on the light of awareness as we go into a break time. And we'll come back together again at 3 o'clock. Use that opportunity to enjoy the pleasant sensations of the sun and the warmth outside if you wish, or the pleasure of walking, right? We've been sitting for quite a while today, so of movement. Okay, so then see you at 3.